Hi, this is Carl from Linguagenesis, and what I want to talk about in this video is a linguistic aspect of the Spanish language, and one which may be of particular interest to GCSE learners or A-level learners of Spanish, or indeed anyone who is wishing to get to grips with the grammar. What I want to speak about is a rather simple way in which you can master the conjugations of the future tense of regular verbs in Spanish, and indeed there aren't that many irregular verbs in the future tense in Spanish. A relationship between the future tense verb endings and the verb endings which we use in the translation into Spanish of have, as in have done something, as opposed to have as in to possess something. The perfect tense being the one in English where we make reference to actions or things which have happened only recently. For example, I have seen her this morning. Have you done your homework? What have you done? Where have you been? And so forth. And then the future tense, which is obviously the one which translates into English as will, as in I will go there next year, or when will she be at home, and so forth. Now, the way in which we form the future tense in Spanish is relatively an easy one. I have, I think, noted in previous videos that as far as the verbs in Spanish are concerned, there is no continuity of regularity between verbs throughout the different tenses. In other words, verbs may prove to be regular in one verb tense and show up irregularities in another. And I've always thought that's quite a strange thing about the Spanish language, but nevertheless, as it's a language which I've studied over a number of years, I have gradually got used to this inconsistency of regularity or irregularity. But as far as the future tense in Spanish is concerned, there aren't that many irregularities. And the way in which we form it is we take either an AR, an ER, or an IR verb infinitive, the one which translates into English as to, and we use one specific set of endings regardless of whether it's an AR, ER, and IR verb, and we attach those endings on to the end of the full verb infinitive. Now what we will see is that the same endings are used in the future tense in Spanish, and they're also used in the conjugations of have in the perfect tense, as in have seen, have done, have been, have eaten, have drunk, and so forth. Now what we can do is, or what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to take the conjugations in the same order in which they would be presented in verb tables in grammar books. I'm actually going to divide the conjugations into two groups. So the first group is as follows. We'll pick any verb, regardless of whether it's an AR, ER, or an IR verb, and the one which I'm going to choose is escuchar, meaning to listen to. And all we do is we add a particular ending, as I say, onto the end of the full verb infinitive. So this is the first group. I will listen to is escuchar plus an accentuated E with an accent of tilde. Escucharé. So your intonation has to go up on the last syllable of the word. Escucharé. If we pluralize I in English, we have more than one I, then we have we, one person speaking on behalf of the group. We will listen to is a lengthened version of escucharé and becomes escucharemos, which has no accent due to the rules of syllable stress and the consonant which the word ends in. Escucharemos. We then have the you guys will listen to, which again is an extension of I will listen to, escucharé, and the expected ending is is, just as the expected ending with the we form is mos, as you have in other tenses as well. So you guys will listen to, escucharéis. Again, no accent due to the rules of syllable stress and when you actually include a tilde above a particular vowel. So that's the first group. Escucharé, escucharemos, escucharéis. So the group which features at least an E after the R of the verb infinitive. In the second group, we no longer have the vowel E after the final R. Instead, we have an A. So the first one we'll look at is he, she, or it will listen to. Again, the full verb infinitive, but this time followed by an accentuated A, escuchará. We can then lengthen escuchará to get you will listen to, familiar and singular, escucharás, which requires the A once again to carry a tilde because of the fact that we stress the last syllable and the word ends in an S. We can then replace the S of escucharás with the expected ending for they in any verb tense, which is the consonant N, escucharán. And once again, due to the fact that we stress the last syllable and the word ends in the consonant N, we must keep the tilde or accent mark in place. So the two groups are escucharé, escucharemos, escucharéis in the one group, and then in the second group, escuchará, escucharás, escucharán. Now we can do exactly the same thing if we treat the perfect tense in Spanish, which requires the use of a conjugation of have in English, but in Spanish we have two verbs, have as in to possess and have as in have done something, and the verb in question where we translate have as in have done something is actually haber, H-A-B-E-R, which is one that shows up irregularities, as we'll see. Now what I'm going to do once again is I'm going to actually break down the conjugations of the translation into Spanish of have into two groups. One of those groups will feature an E after the R of the infinitive, and the other group will feature an A immediately after the R of the infinitive. Well, that in actual fact applies to the future tense. It won't actually apply here to the perfect tense because we're not using the full verb infinitive followed by an ending, but we are using A's in one group and E's in another group. So just put that little slightly false remark to one side. If we want to translate I have, as in I have gone or I have been, then we say E, spelled H-E. Then we have an extended version of I have, which is we have, again using the expected ending of mos, emos, H-E-M-O-S. The irregularity in the you guys form for you guys have, which is actually habéis, H-A-B-E-I-S, but again the E, the vowel E, is in place there. So that's the one group, and then in the second group you have the, or at least the vowel A. So if you want to say he has, she has, or it has, then the translation into Spanish is a, spelled H-A, lengthened to you have, familiar singular, as, H-A-S, and then if you want to replace the S with the expected ending for they, which is the consonant N, you have an. So again, remembering that this is have or has as in have done something or has done something, as opposed to have as in possess or has as in possess. Now let's look at the way in which we use the same ending for the have in the perfect tense as we do in the future tense. I have, escucharé, I will listen to. Hemos, we have, escucharemos, we will listen to. Habéis, you guys have, escucharéis, you guys will listen to. In the second group, a, he has, she has, it has, escuchará, he will listen to, she will listen to, it will listen to. Has, you have, escucharás, you will listen to. Those forms being for familiar and singular you. And they have, escucharán, they will listen to. So you can see how a set ending or a series of specific endings are used in the future tense, and those are exactly the same ones which are used in the translations of the Spanish verb haber, which translates into English as have, as in have done something, as opposed to have, as in possess.